Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure to be back.
Today, we're going to tackle a question that's been bouncing around in my head for a while.
Yeah.
What really makes an intellectual?
Oh, I like this one.
We're going beyond those, the dictionary definition,
Right.
trying to get at the heart of how to think like one. And we've got a great source to guide us.
Yeah.
We're diving into some of Umberto Eco's thoughts from a piece called, and this is a great title, What is an Intellectual.txt?
Catchy.
And, really gets you thinking, like, in today's world, almost every job requires brain power, right?
Absolutely.
So does that mean we're all intellectuals now?
Well, that's a fascinating question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Eco, he actually addresses this head on with a really interesting comparison.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
He pits a bank employee against, well, Michelangelo.
Whoa, okay, that's a pretty stark contrast.
Right. And he asks, if being an intellectual is all about working with your mind rather than your hands.
Which, is kind of a classic definition.
Right. Would that make the bank employee, more of an intellectual than Michelangelo?
Whoa, mind blown.
Yeah.
Really makes you rethink that whole thinkers versus doers stereotype.
Exactly. That's exactly what Eco's trying to do, I think. I mean, he's challenging that notion.
So then what does make someone an intellectual, according to Eco? I mean, there's this phrase he uses that I just can't get out of my head.
What's that?
Producer of new knowledge.
Ah, yes.
What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, it's not just about absorbing information, right?
Right.
It's about taking that knowledge and creating something new with it.
Got it.
It's about creativity. And you know what? He gives this really compelling example to illustrate this.
Lay it on me.
He talks about a farmer.
Okay, a farmer.
Yeah, who develops this totally innovative grafting technique.
Mm.
And through this act, through this problem-solving creative process, this farmer, according to Eco, becomes an intellectual.
So you're telling me I don't need to be locked away in a library surrounded by dusty books to be an intellectual?
Not at all. You hit the nail on the head. You don't need a PhD. It's about that spark.
The spark.
The spark of creativity.
Oh, I see.
And the drive to make something new.
It's almost like kind of democratizing the idea of intellectualism in a way.
Exactly. Yeah. It's saying that it's not limited to a certain class or profession.
But then Eco throws in this curveball.
Yeah, he does.
He brings up the example of a philosophy professor who, has all this knowledge, but just keeps rehashing the same lectures year after year.
Yeah, that's a great point. This contrast really highlights that intellectualism is not static.
Yeah.
It's a process.
It has to be an active thing.
Exactly. Even if you're surrounded by knowledge, you can stagnate.
Right.
If you're not questioning, pushing boundaries,
But is he saying that all professors are just, stuck in a rut, repeating old ideas?
No, not at all. I mean, that's not his point. He's just emphasizing that critical thinking, that's the real key.
Ah, I see.
It's the hallmark of any true intellectual activity.
And to be fair, that philosophy professor, they could be doing amazing research, thinking groundbreaking thoughts all behind the scenes, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's just that Eco wants to stress that intellectualism, it has to be active, engaged.
Not passive.
Exactly. Not just taking things in without really, chewing on them.
So you keep mentioning critical thinking, but what does that actually look like?
Like in our everyday lives.
Yeah, exactly. How do we put it into practice?
Well, it's about questioning assumptions, not just accepting things at face value.
Okay, so be a little skeptical.
Exactly. And look at things from different angles, be open to other perspectives.
And maybe even be willing to challenge our own beliefs.
Exactly. That's a tough one, but that's where the real growth happens. And Eco, he believes this kind of critical thinking, it's for everyone.
Not just academics and scholars.
Right. It's not some elite skill. It's something we can all develop.
So it's less about having all the answers.
Yeah.
And more about always being curious, always asking questions.
That's it. Always seeking to understand things better, to dig a little deeper.
So ultimately, Eco seems to be saying that anyone can be an intellectual.
If they embrace those qualities, the creativity and the critical thinking.
And I love that. It's empowering, isn't it?
Totally. It puts the power in everyone's hands to engage with ideas.
To be part of the conversation.
Exactly.
So as you're listening to this right now, think about what really resonates with you in this definition of an intellectual.
What sparks your curiosity?
What makes you want to, go out and learn more?
Yeah. And think about this. If intellectualism is about creating new knowledge, what little act of creation or critical thinking can you do today?
It could be small, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe you try a new recipe or look at an old problem in a new way.
Question something you've always believed.
Right. It's about keeping that intellectual spark alive.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep those minds engaged.
And stay curious.